What's good, guys? It's REV again. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm crammed on the floor of my truck, and there's a good answer for that, and I'm holding it in my hand. If you guys watched my last videos, I mentioned that I picked up a bunch of new parts for this summer, and I'm going to go ahead and install some of them. One of the things I mentioned was the AutoMeter Sport Comp Wideband. Now, obviously, a big part of that is the gauge, which has to be mounted in the dash. You've got your O2 sensor, which either replaces one of your O2 sensors if you're in SD tuning, speed density, or goes after your other O2 sensors if you're just a regular hot rod swap and you have the front O2s. Even for carbs, it's still a great tuning tool. So I've got this pulled through here. I can go ahead and measure the distance up to the gauge panel where it's going to need to be, and then I can start thinking about fitting the gauge and mounting the O2 sensor. Here's the existing spot of one of my front O2 sensors. Since we'll be switching to speed density tune, we can remove the front O2s and reuse the existing bung to screw in our wideband. If you weren't doing SD and you were still keeping the MAF for a normal tune, you'd leave these two in place and add a provided O2 bung a little further back in the exhaust collectors to mount the O2 sensor. With all the chassis wiring done, the next thing we need to work on is getting the gauge mounted. Now right here, I have an existing voltage gauge. A million different things can read voltage, the scan gauge, the radio, everything else. We'll use this existing hole, put the gauge in this, or put the wideband in this hole, and then if we need to, we can always relocate this to a new hole somewhere in the periphery later. So let's get this one out. It's tucked behind the fucking dash. Oh, it's moving, we got it loose. Come on, baby. The nuts are off. Then it should be the mounting cup. Mounting bracket. And she comes right out the front. Simple hookup. Old gauge out. With the old gauge out, we can run the aforementioned wiring up into place and put the new gauge in. So we've got this gauge. The new mounting cup is a tad different. It's the plastic AutoMeter backside. And the hardware, again, a tad different, but the function is the same. We can hook up the wiring and slide the gauge in place. So there she is, tightly mounted into place. Looks pretty good, fits right in the old hole. The only thing I notice is that at some point I think we're gonna have to coat this trim ring with some black to make it match the rest. And now, thanks to the magic of editing, it is black. But the face looks good, and everything else is gonna work. We can move on to hooking up the rest of the wires. Then it's a matter of hooking up the loose wires to a switch 12-volt power source and a good ground. And the extra wires, the two blue and the brown wires, can go to the wideband logging function if you're either data logging or running something like an HP tuner's box. There'll be a nice port right on the side. Those will interface into. So, if everything works properly, going key on should give us some lights to say that we have power and ground, and then engine on should give us a signal. As always, we'll see you next time, guys.